Football in the community at Burnley, a massive thing now. It all started with yourself, Brian. You just about hung your boots up, but they gave you the job. How did it start and what was it like back in the day? I guess not quite the level we're at the moment.
No, most certainly not, but everything must have a beginning, and I hadn't hung my boots up at that point. I was still playing part-time for Wrexham and doing the role here at Burnley Football Club, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It was a fantastic couple of years I had here, and something I look back on with warmth.
The scale of the thing different, but I think right from the start the ethos was the same. Get out into the community, spread the word and help people out there. So in practical terms, was it more sort of football based perhaps then? What were you sort of doing?
Yeah, predominantly football. We had target areas in schools. I think we had to try to achieve 10 schools per week, which was 2 schools per day. The staffing levels then were a maximum we could have, because obviously it was a government scheme, was 10, and 2 of them were office staff as well. So thankfully I got some good staff, very enthusiastic staff, and things went really well.
Presumably you were well received at the time. I mean, as you say, you were a name from Burnley, a big player back in the day. What was the sort of reception you got when you went out? And I presume young people around the town were inspired.
Well, obviously when we went into schools and the teachers knew who I was, and that did open quite a few doors, I must admit. And but one of the most enjoyable things was the tea dance that we used to have down in the old centre spot, which is now the 1882 club.
So your footwork came into play, was it?
It was singing and dancing, it was mainly, and the doors, you had to lock the doors because there were so many people coming in.
It does seem a different world in many ways, Neil, but as Brian rightly said, you had to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that was the start of the community thing, which has grown and grown, but the importance hasn't changed.
No, I think the concept is the same, whether it was 30 years ago or today. This club has to reach out into the community, it has to make a difference, has to work with its local schools, it has to be a beacon for positive change, and I think it's the same today, Brian, as it was probably back then. Clearly the resources are different and the approach is a bit different, but that we've had to move with the times. But yeah, a really important part of the football club is to be active and to be a leader out there in the community.
You've had lots of jobs since, Brian, but you have stayed local to the area. You're almost an adopted Burnley man through and through. Have you been able to see what the community's done over those years and from the small
yes,
seeds that you planted?
I followed it closely, and it's a big success. Not only by the awards that Neil and his staff have won and the football club have won, but it's being out and about in Burnley as well, speaking to the people of Burnley. They realise how important it is.
Do you feel a sort of sense of pride? I know you wouldn't claim any credit being the modest chap that you are, but I mean, from looking back from how it started to see how it has succeeded.
I got the ball rolling, I suppose. It was Burnley were one of 6 clubs, I think, initially, and it was basically a pilot scheme to see if it would work. And within 5 years, I think it was 92 all football league clubs had a community department. So it was Roger Reid and Dennis Lehman and Mickey Burns were the inspirators behind that, obviously from the PFA, and yeah, it was nice to be part of. Really, as I said earlier, really warming to be part of.
Can you tell us, Neil, sorry?
I was just going to add that's actually not changed. So the PFA is still very much involved. So Dennis Lehman still comes to Turf Moor and meets with the staff here, and John Hudson and Gordon Taylor. So we still work very closely with them. What's changed in terms of the football authorities is the involvement of the Premier League, the EFL. So it's more of a football family that really get behind community at football clubs, and very much a partnership approach. But the PFA are still very much involved and play an active role, and are brilliant in terms of supporting us with the other partners.
Can you give us an idea, Neil, now of the reach that the community department now has? Because
yeah.
You say the resources are bigger, so inevitably more so than back in Brian's day. But what sort of reach have you got? And it's beyond schools now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it is. I would say we're very much a social change-in charity. So we deliver football and sport provision, but we do so much more. So we do a lot of work around employability, we do a lot of work around general physical activity, we do a lot of work around health and well-being. We have a community cohesion arm of our work. So it's very much around anything and everything that will make a difference to the community, we can almost take our hand to. And what that brings is a need for skilled practitioners. So I have a team of about 70 now, and they range from football coaches to sports coaches to health practitioners to teachers and tutors to marketeers to administrators to people who work on governance and compliance and policy. So a whole range of people which brings together that organisation so we can go out and bring about change. And it's very much an entrepreneurial and can-do approach to making a difference. And I know we're doing that now. I know we're doing that every day out there in this town. And it's not, for me, it's not just about Burnley, it's about the surrounding boroughs as well. The club has such a broad reach. So up into the Ribble Valley, down into Rosendale, over into Calderdale, certainly into Pendle. So all those areas we are very much active in and trying to make a difference and trying to work in those most deprived areas. Yeah,
those areas. How important has it been for those areas? I mean, a friend and colleague of yours, Stan Tennant, always used to say, self-praise is no recommendation. So without blowing too much of your own trumpet, you can see genuine improvements out in the...
We can see engagement. So we can see lots of young people, lots of residents participating in activities, and that's the first step. And then it's looking at what is that engagement, what is the impact of that engagement on their lives, so what difference are we making? So if I give you an example, we have a KICS programme which engages with about 700 young people, individual young people per week in deprived areas around Burnley and the surrounding boroughs. So if those 700 people are engaged in provision, A, they're increasing their physical activity and health and well-being, and B, if they're young people that may be in a little bit of trouble locally, when they're engaged with us, they're not doing things they shouldn't be, or they're not at risk from doing things they shouldn't be. And actually what that is having is a positive impact on antisocial behaviour and youth crime in those areas. So in fact, that's really enabling us to work very closely with the police and the local authority to work with those young people and reduce youth offending. So that's just one example of how our work has an impact.
And physically, I mean, you're buying buildings and properties and actually improving actual facilities out there as well, aren't you? There's one on the go at the moment.
So that we have a facility strategy, and that's really important to us. So having physical assets we can trade from and we can operate our provision from is important, and what that does is embed us in communities long term as well. So we're about 6 months into the redevelopment of the Briarfield Mill, the old Smith and Nephew site in Pendle. So that's a £4 million capital project. It will open up as a community hub. Indoor 3G, outdoor 3G, sports hall, play equipment, climbing, cafe, youth facilities, classrooms, so a whole range of community provision. We will operate that, we will run that as a self-sustaining entity. It will not be reliant on the public purse. So that's a really positive one. We're just going through the acquisition of Whito Outdoor Education Centre. The deal is agreed with Lancashire County Council. That's a 22-acre site up in Barley. 6 dwellings, outdoor education, dormitories for up to 70 participants. The county closed that probably about 18 months ago. We're going to reopen it, bring it back to the community, bring it back to the local schools. That's a really positive one. We now operate UCFB in the Jimmy McElroy stand, education hub, BTEC provision, employability, enterprise provision. Schools are engaged with that. So that's a real positive opportunity for us to keep that facility alive for education purposes and for the local community. So it's very much a can-do approach. If there's an opportunity there, we'll go and do it. Yes, we'll look at the risk, and yes, we'll assess the benefit to the community. And if we can achieve those things, we'll do it and we'll have a go at it. And I think that's the right approach to take.
When you were doing it, Brian, way back, did the players get involved, first team players?
Oh yeah, very much so. Before I talk about that, can I have a job? It sounds really exciting. It does.
You've never been out of work, right? You've never been out of work. You've never did a job.
Finish play, do community, go away, have a management career, then come back to community.
That's a nice circle. That is. Don't rule it out. The players were excellent. Yeah, the players were all for it. Obviously, because the manager was fully backed it as well. It was a new scheme. It was a pilot scheme. So it was new to everybody, but they did embrace it, I must admit.
And that's important for you, Neil. I know the players do get out and about.
Crucial. I mean, I'm not just saying this. Sean and his staff are absolutely superb and back us all the way. We've recorded over 150 community player appearances this season. That's one every other day. That's a record amount for this football club.
And how does that compare nationwide? I guess we're pretty good, are we?
Pretty good, yeah. Pretty good. And we've done a lot of work to try and talk to the players and educate them and actually get their buy-in. And now the players are absolutely superb. Led by Tom as the captain. That message is very much out to all the squad. They come to appearances, they engage, they're really positive, they're inspirational, they're role models, and I think some footballers don't quite get that, but I think we've got a group here that do get that. They understand what Burnley means to the community, and they want to be part of it, and they want to support, and that is crucial. And I can't thank them enough for that support, because it's really important to the work me and my team do out there in the community, that they're behind us and they're working with us.
Which brings us on nicely. Football is sort of the driving force behind it all. Sunday, Manchester United in town. It's your community day. Just tell us about that, some of the details and what people can see on Sunday and how important it is.
Yeah, we do an annual community day, so we've been really lucky this season that we've managed to secure Manchester United for that live on Sky Sports. So a big fixture. That's good of them to turn up for that. So Community Day is all about raising awareness of the great work the club is doing in the community. We've decided this year to partner with Pendleside Hospice, who again are a local charity, do some fantastic work and obviously provide a really important service to the local community and touch so many people's lives. So we'll have a range of activities in the fan zone and some information for fans to get involved with both charities. We've got a stadium-wide bucket collection to raise funds for both charities, so we're asking supporters to bring £1 to the game. I think if every supporter can put £1 in a bucket, we'll raise a significant amount of money on the day. So it's really important supporters get behind us and support that cause. We've also got a number of activities on the run-up to the day. In terms of actually tomorrow, we're doing a away shirt day in schools and local businesses. So all school children and local employees are wearing their Burnley shirt, or actually a football shirt, to work or to school, and that's going to raise some funds as well. We've got some increased marketing and media exposure around it on the day. I think the programme's being branded up Community Day, which would be fantastic. So just a real positive, feel-good factor around the day. And also what we've decided to do as well for Sundays, we're putting 20,000 flags on every seat in the stadium. So we've got a community and Pendleside flag, and we're going to ask every supporter to wave that flag as the teams are coming out. Just to give a real feel-good community feel to the stadium on Sunday and really raise awareness of the work we're doing. So it's a really important date in the calendar every year for us.
I look like it as well. Brian, I can't let you go asking you a football question. You were the last Burnley team that stayed in the top flight back-to-back seasons. How well do you think the club's doing at the moment, and can they do it this time around?
Fantastic. They've had a really good season, apart from playing away from home, which I'm stating the obvious. This is a fortress, and it's had to be that way in the Premier League because it's severe. There is no let-up in the Premier League, and Sean and his staff, and I think you've got to mention his staff as well. He's got a great team behind him in the back room, and they've worked incredibly well to maintain their Premiership.
I know you've got a vested interest because you work for another club now, and I know you're a very professional man, but I suppose you'd like to see them stay up. And for the town, it's important, isn't it, to be a Premier League club?
Oh, they'll stay up. There's no doubt they'll stay up. There's no shadow of doubt that they've retained the status. Something ridiculous has to happen, and I can't see that happening, no.
Important just on that, to be a Premier League club, Neil, for your work. I mean, I know it's not fair to lump the pressure on the football side of it, but no. I guess it only helps, doesn't it?
It only helps. It helps in terms of exposure and the marketing presence, because that's really important. But it helps in terms of funding as well, because I think the Premier League brings increased funding and increased desire from sponsors and partners to get involved. So I think it benefits everybody, from the players and the Sean and the playing side, right through the entire football club, for us to stay in the Premier League. And like Brian, I'm absolutely positive we will now do that.
Well, let's hope Sunday is another step towards that. It's a very successful day for yourselves.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
gents.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.